These are women that are still suffering decades later from what the province of British Columbia allowed, and we say supported.
Indigenous people in a proposed class action lawsuit say the BC government took away their reproductive rights when they were coerced into sterilization and abortion. The province repealed its Sexual Sterilization Act in 1979, which gave BC's former eugenics board the right to sterilize people in government-run institutions without their consent or knowledge.
We're seeking recognition, first of all, by the government of British Columbia that this happened, that there were a large number of Indigenous men and women who were were sterilized against their will.
Stephen Cooper is one of the lawyers working on the class action. He describes the case of a then 21-year-old whose fallopian tubes were permanently disabled.
It's a lady by the name of Lorraine Davis. This happened just in 1983. She went to deliver by C-section a child. During the C-section, she suffered from a tubal ligation, although she specifically says that that is not what she wanted. She wanted to have more children.
In a press release from Cooper Regal lawyers, Davis says in part, "So often it feels like you're alone when you've been coerced into sterilization, something I never wanted and never expected. The province must acknowledge what happened to me and others and be forced to account for its participation in the attempt to control the Indigenous population of this country. Never again can this be allowed to happen." The other representative plaintiff in the case is Stephanie Roy.
In the late 1990s, in her case, she was a teenager. She agreed under duress to an abortion. Before the procedure was to proceed, she withdrew her consent, and the abortion still carried on.
City News reached out to BC Attorney General Nikki Sharma, but her office says the Attorney General is unable to comment as this matter is before the courts.
Canadians have to realize that we have a history that we have to recognize, and that we have to atone for. Reconciliation requires that we first acknowledge the wrongs that were undertaken.
Cooper says it could take months for the BC Supreme Court to fully recognize the class action lawsuit, at which point they can start looking at evidence. In Vancouver, Kier Junos, City News.